Is it still really hard to find a job? We just had a bunch of good news come out with the Fed dropping interest rates. We had unemployment tick downward for the first time in a long while looking at an upward trend before that. It feels like it's hard to get a job, but there's good stuff happening out there as well. My name is Jason Roberts. I've been in recruiting for 25 years, and I'm going to spend the next few minutes walking through exactly what the indicators are and when I think there's a turnaround coming. Before we get started, do me a big favor, hit the like, subscribe, and the bell icon, and you'll see content like this whenever it comes out. All right, let's get into it. The job report just came out, so the first Friday of every month, we get a brand new jobs report from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Now, I should caveat this with the Bureau of Labor and Statistics has historically kind of sucked at their job. I mean, they are terrible at their job. The last number of years, we just had a correction. I'll link a video on it for you. They corrected 818,000 jobs that they were wrong about. So we can't really trust these guys. Now, what I will say is we saw the first upward correction in a long while from them. They corrected July numbers upward, and we were all a little worried about that. July looked really weak, and they bumped that up by 72,000 jobs. So we saw a bump upward in July jobs and August as well. So we did see a little bit of an increase there, and it made me feel a little bit better about life, the universe, and everything, because maybe these guys are trying to pay attention. Maybe they're trying to be accurate. I really don't think that they've even bothered up to this point, honestly. It feels like they are at this point. So that's good news. The other piece of good news is that the unemployment rate ticked down by a 0.1%. We went down to 4.1%. Now, the reason that's important is if you're looking at this and you see there were a number of new jobs added, so 254,000 new jobs were added to the market, there are also fewer people looking for jobs. So 4.1% is the unemployment rate. That's a 0.1% decrease. So less people looking for more jobs means that it should start to ease and start to feel easier to find a new job. Now, this is all good news. This is news that we would hope to see. And if I'm out there looking for a job, honestly, I couldn't ask for a lot more than what we just saw. That being said, the market as a whole is a little nervous at this point. We just had a rate decrease by the Fed. They dropped interest rates by 0.5%. And the reason that's a big deal is that the market really needs that. The economy needs that. And Chairman Powell said the reason that he did this was he was worried about a cooling labor market. And we had seen this ongoing tick up of unemployment up to this point. We just had that big revision of 818,000 jobs because the Bureau of Labor and Statistics doesn't do their jobs well. So we saw some problems happening there, and Powell reacted and gave us a pretty big rate cut, like a significant rate cut. So significant that it kind of freaked a few people out. They're like, oh, that's too much. He must be really worried. Well, turns out nothing to worry about. Everything was fine. The market wasn't as bad as they thought it was. So jobs have not plummeted. We've not continued to see an increase in unemployment. We saw a slight decrease, which means we're pretty steady. We're pretty stable on that front. Now, the number of jobs that we added in September is not nearly as high as it was in our peak, but it's closer to 2019 kind of stats. And that's okay. It's actually still above 2019, and while it's below our peak numbers. So I think that's probably a good thing. What does this mean for you? This means that if you're looking for a job, it probably doesn't feel a lot different today than it did before this report came out, right? If you're looking for a job, it always is going to feel like it sucks to look for a job. But what should happen is jobs that take 90 or 120 days to find, maybe those start to come in a little bit. So it'll take 80 days, maybe 100 days to find those jobs. Now, the labor market is not what it used to be. The reason it feels so hard to find a job is actually a thing called the quits rate. The quits rate is the percentage of people who are quitting their jobs and looking for another job, which remains at a record low. It's a very low percentage of people changing jobs. In fact, most of the jobs that you see out there in the market are there because someone else has just changed jobs. And a lot of the movement that you see is just pure churn, meaning somebody leaves one job, goes to another. That one job was opened up while another one was filled. And people are just sort of hopscotching their way through. When you look at all the jobs that are out there, the GDP grows at, 3%, maybe 5% in a crazy time. We don't grow as an economy all that much. And as a result, we don't grow in the number of jobs all that much. What we need is for people to move around within those jobs in order to facilitate the movement and make it feel like there are jobs for people to go into when they're changing roles. So that's what's been missing. Nobody's quitting their current jobs, which means there are fewer opportunities for you if you are actively looking for a job. Now, that said, record low number of layoffs are happening right now as well. So we don't have very many layoffs happening. Not a lot of churn is happening as a result of that. We don't have people quitting. That also means not a lot of churn is happening. So just not a lot of inventory in the job market. And in fact, if you look at the number of open jobs, the total open jobs, not how many were created in the economy, which is what the Bureau of Labor and Statistics talks about, but the total number of open jobs in the market itself, Indeed has been showing an ongoing and steady decrease. And that's bad news for Indeed because that's sort of how they make a living, but it's also bad news for people looking for jobs that we've had this ongoing and steady drop in the total number of jobs that are available for people in the marketplace. The main reason is this quits rate and the churn in the industry has not been available. So what that means is there are more people currently competing for fewer jobs, though it's gotten a little bit better with this announcement that we just heard from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. So that's better than it was, still not great. Here's what you can do about it. There are some things that you can do to expedite your application and get to the top of the stack. The first thing that you do, people are going to tell you this all the time. I'm going to help you cheat. I'm going to give you a link right here that you can use. I pre-wrote some prompts for you for ChatGPT, the free version of ChatGPT. So you can just copy and paste these prompts straight into ChatGPT, and it will walk you through a process for updating and customizing your resume to apply to each individual job. That's a starting point. You can do that. And the reason that's valuable is that you want your job to look as close to the actual job posting as possible. You want it to be as close to that as it can be. So customizing your resume will make you show up at the top of the stack. You'll be more relevant. That's actually the metric that the system is using in order to determine who goes on top and who goes on bottom. It's called relevance. So you become more relevant to the job when you make that customization. And this thing will help you do it. Just follow that link and it's free to use. I put this together a while ago. There's also a link on exactly how to use it. I'll put up for you as well. And you can kind of walk through exactly how to do that on another YouTube video. So that's helpful to you in that stage. The other thing that you can do in order to get this moving forward is that you can work on finding the hiring manager. So you hunt down who the hiring manager is and you make human contact. There's a couple of ways to make human contact. One, that if you've been in a career a long time, you have a big network, you use that network. The other way is that you find the hiring manager, and there's little clues that exist inside of every job posting to say, here's who the hiring manager is. And then you can go to LinkedIn and use those clues to investigate and uncover who this person is. You're doing a little bit of whodunit, but a little bit of finding the right person in the LinkedIn process by looking at the clues that are in the job description itself. And there's another video I have here where I show you exactly how to do that. So those are my two favorite tactics right now. Talking to a human being is really the game changer. So that's how you can set yourself apart in this time when there's lots of people looking for a small number of jobs. And I want you to do that. I want you to have the best of luck in finding your next position. I think you can. Very best of luck in finding your job.